Beginning with the CSS, let's do the obvious thing, which is make the country field itself, as well as all its options except for the first one, black by default. Then I'll make the first option element the color of the placeholder. Let's see how that looks. So it's almost there, except that when the first option is selected, we want it to be gray, but if we make the select element gray by default, then it'll always be gray even if we have a valid option selected. To remedy this, I'll go to the profile template and open a new postload.js block and write a little JavaScript. First thing we want to do is get the value of the country field when the page loads and store it in a variable. Remember that the value will be an empty string if the first option is selected, so to determine if that's selected, we can use this as a boolean. So if country selected is false, then we want the color of this element to be that gray placeholder color. Then we need to capture the change event and every time the box changes, we'll get the value of it and then determine the proper color. Lastly, just to stick with the best practices, I'll extract this little blurb of code out into a separate JavaScript file, and then call it here using the source attribute instead. Now we can reload the page and see that every time the country field changes, the color is set correctly. Actually, something's still not quite right here because everything is changing colors instead of just the first element. So let's check out what's going on with that. So here's the issue. I've missed a hashtag in front of the color code in the CSS. And now it's working properly. Everything is looking pretty good now, so to finish this video up, let's write the post handler for the profile view. It's quite simple. All we're going to do is if the request method is post, create a new instance of the user profile form using the post data. and tell it the instance we're updating is the profile we've just retrieved above. Then if the form is valid, we'll simply save it and add a success message. And that means we'll also need to import messages. The rest of the logic stays the same, as all we're going to do is replace the form variable with the user's updated profile and return the same template. There's one more nitpicky change I'd like to make, but first let's go test this out. If there's nothing in your bag, add something to it before going to your profile. Now I'll fill out some information in the profile in order to update it, and click Update Information. The post handler works fine, but when we get the success message, it has the bag information in it, which is a bit awkward since we haven't added anything to the bag here. So to fix it, I'm going to go to the profile view and add another context variable called onProfilePage, which is set to true. Then I can go to the success message template in the toasts folder and here where we're checking if there's a grand total, let's also check that we're not on the profile page. This simple change will make it so the shopping bag only shows up in the success message when we're not on the profile page. Updating the profile again, it looks much cleaner. This seems like a good place to stop, so let's commit the changes we've made, push them up to GitHub, and in the next video, we'll add the user's order history to their profile and set up the checkout page to autofill the payment form with the user's default delivery information.